What it do, what the business is. All right, y'all, listen, we back with another video, man. But before we get to some conspiracy theories and unexplained mysteries, all that good stuff, man, help me unplug some more people out of the matrix, all right? And you do that by hitting the like button so we can get these videos out there and attack the algorithm, all right? And if you're new, hit that subscribe button and join the fam. All right, so here we have Bill Nye breaking down some discoveries found on the moon of Saturn. Let's get to it.
For the first time, scientists have discovered evidence of phosphorus in an ocean not on Earth. A new study in the Journal of Nature says the life-sustaining element was found inside salty ice grains shot into space by one of Saturn's moons. Not only is phosphorus vital to all life on Earth, but its presence supports the idea that there could be an ocean capable of sustaining life beneath that moon's icy surface. The co-author of the study says, quote, "The next step is clear. We need to go back to see if the habitable ocean is actually inhabited." And joining us now is a man who needs no introduction, Bill Nye, the science guy. Bill, what do you make of all this? Possible.
Why does Bill Nye always make me laugh? And he ain't said nothing or opened his mouth yet. He just looked at it, man. My bad. He just made me laugh, bro. Sorry.
Possibilities are kind of extraordinary here. What do you think?
Well, so if you have an ocean, a salty ocean for a few billion years, maybe there's something alive. And so, so far, using the data collected by the Cassini spacecraft, everybody was pretty sure there was water, hydrogen and oxygen, sulfur, but finding phosphorus, atomic number 15, is significant because you know what we say in magic, they say it's all done with mirrors. You know what we say in biochemistry? It's all done with molecules. So when it comes to us, our DNA is held up. The edge of our DNA is phosphorus. And so phosphorus and sugar make the so-called backbone or the railings of the staircase of DNA. And then you've probably heard of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. That's the battery, that's the energizer of our cells. And so having phosphorus is very important to us and all the other living things that we know of, which are all on Earth. But I'll tell you, sir, if we were to find evidence of life on another world, it would change this world.
How so?
Everybody would feel differently about being a living thing.
Yeah, expand on that, because I think you're absolutely.
I'm sitting here saying the same thing as the analyst, the reporter, sitting here just as confused. You gotta say a little more than that, Bill. Come on, Bill.
Right about that. I think the entire planet, our planet, would just be mesmerized if there were some images, or if we were to find some kind of sign of life on this.
Yeah, because a lot of us who are already have ourselves like immersed into that world of space and what's going on, the unknown up there. We already are aware that some of these habitable planets could potentially have life. Okay, what does that mean once we get to that point? It doesn't really just, okay, it does when we find it, we find out. But to say it's anything more than that, no. Okay, it's there, it's habitable. Okay, has something developed that looks like us, or a different version of us, or a different version, or a version of an alien, or you know what I mean? So yeah, you got to expound on that.
Images, or if we were to find some kind of sign of life on this moon,
some Enceladosians of some sort.
Yeah.
There's a layer of ice, a shell of ice, and under that is this ocean. And it's kept liquid by the mutual gravity of Enceladus and Saturn squeezing it, and it keeps it warm enough to be liquid all these billions of years.
What about volcanoes?
And you cannot help but wonder these two questions we all ask. Where did we come from? How did life get started? Whose idea was this? I know people are very sure of some things, but fundamentally, scientifically, we don't know how life started. And then you wonder, if it started here, could it start somewhere else? Are we alone? And then the other deep question is, we have DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. Oh, by the way, phosphorus is what makes it acidic. It's very important to its function. So we have DNA. Does another form of life on another world have DNA? Does DNA always get involved? Is it always part of the equation? And then furthermore, did life start somewhere else and end up here because things fall toward the sun after their impacts out there? Right. Are we descendants of Enceladosians? That's quite a hypothesis, but we investigated everybody for a tiny fraction of the federal budget. A tiny fraction of space agency budgets around the world go to this kind of investigation. And it leads to these extraordinary discoveries. Back to you.
Well, and I mean, if this were to be, we were to find some more evidence of this, we would have to go. And how would we go and further confirm what may be taking place?
See, now that's a whole other issue within itself right there, us going. Okay, what type of planet is this? Is it habitable? Okay, cool. What is the atmosphere like? All right, any type of gases we need to worry about? You know what I mean? It's so much different elements and different things that go into putting, and I'm never a fan of sending any human or animals for that matter there first. You know what I mean? I'm all about sending automation, some type of AI or technology robot, something, a rover, something like this in there first.
Place there. Do we even have the?
So
do we haven't even figured out how to get to Mars. Besides sending rovers and that sort of thing.
Well,
how would we figure this out?
When you start getting out, I got to say, when you start getting out as far as Jupiter or Saturn, getting people out there becomes fantastically complicated. I'm not saying it's impossible. It just takes a huge investment. But 2027. We're planning to launch the Dragonfly mission to another one of Saturn's moons, Titan, which is equally intriguing. This phosphorus thing is just this week. But it just shows you also the tremendous value of these missions. Cassini flew, it was 2017, and it launched 12 years before that. And these data are still being analyzed. They're still thinking deep thoughts about what the instruments can tell us about these other worlds. And so everybody...
I remember Artemis mission. Where did Dragonfly come from? Did y'all know about this? We're going to have to look into that one.
What the instruments can tell us about these other worlds. And so everybody, we're not jumping on a rocket to go to Saturn, but we are going to send another spacecraft there. And this is the extraordinary Dragonfly octocopter. Going to fly around in the Titanic atmosphere. It's going to be amazing. Yeah. And once again, as I say all the time, it's just the investment is just very, very small. And if you are watching in the U.S., you're a U.S. citizen or what have you, NASA is the best brand the United States has. People everywhere respect NASA. And furthermore, there's another mission that just like Cassini, engages space agencies and scientists, engineers, and taxpayers, voters around the world. Well, thank you.
Well, you're absolutely right, Bill. You've given us a lot to think about. We'll be dreaming about this moon tonight, perhaps, and wondering what lies out there.
Why he look confused?
Phosphorus.
Science fiction quickly becoming science fact. Bill Nye, the science guy. Thanks so much. Great to talk to you. Appreciate it.
I love Bill. Hold on, y'all. I want to check another story going on that's been breaking. You know what I mean? But Bill Nye is just super hilarious. What is going on my screen? Oh, okay. Bill Nye is just super hilarious to me, man. The whole time where he was just doing. Super hilarious. But I wanted to check out this college grad challenges justice. Not that one. Supreme Court justice strikes down use of affirmative action in college admissions. Have y'all been following the story? I haven't. It's popped up, so I kind of want to check it out real quick, dig into it.
This is a CBS News special report. I'm Gail King. Breaking news from the Supreme Court. The court has just issued a landmark ruling on affirmative action, officially ending the practice in college admissions processes. Colleges and universities will no longer be permitted to take race into account when reviewing the college applications. Now, this is a reversal of the 2003 decision, which ruled that higher education institutions must consider race in students' admissions to promote diversity. The two cases brought before the Supreme Court by the Students for Fair Admissions argued this, that the decades-long practice was considered a disadvantage specifically to white and Asian American applicants. Harvard and the University of North Carolina, representing both private and public universities, say affirmative action should be upheld as their policies help ensure a diverse student body. Chief Washington correspondent, that's Major Garrett, is just outside the Supreme Court now, where we've just gotten the news. Major, all indications seem to indicate they were going to rule this way. Good morning to you. What are you hearing?
Good morning, Gail. Let me read directly from the opinion just released by the Supreme Court, authored by Chief Justice John Roberts. This is the most important paragraph in that very lengthy ruling. Quote, Harvard's and UNC's, meaning University of North Carolina's, admissions programs violate the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. This opinion goes on to say, in part, eliminating racial discrimination means eliminating all of it. Essentially what the court has ruled, 6-3 in the University of North Carolina case, 6-2 in the Harvard case, because Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson recused herself because of her ties to Harvard, but 6-2, 6-3, the court has said that these admission policies, which do not include set-asides or numerical quotas, but they do consider race among many other considerations in the admissions process, is impermissible because the value of diversity, the court has argued, isn't enough to justify the harms done to other students equally or possibly better qualified applying to those institutions. This will have wide-ranging effects across American higher education. Many colleges across the country have been bracing for this opinion, trying to figure out how in the admissions process going forward they can create a diverse campus and collection of students in their student body, which is not only of value to incoming students, but many of their parents, without considering race. Well, the Supreme Court has now said you cannot consider race in any way, shape, or form, and if you do, you'll be violating this ruling and the U.S. Constitution.
My issue is we need to step back and go back and instead of focusing at the college level so much, we need to fall back and start focusing on the high school level, the middle school level. Like, these are where the problem lay at. We don't have, and I don't want to get on a rant like that, but I think the issue is the curriculum. Why we don't have as many people qualified, as the term he used, is because of the poor educations we're receiving. Like, it's just getting you by at this point. We need to focus on doing better at those middle school and high school levels to get more kids qualified. Figure out a better way of learning and capturing their attention so you will want to learn. You know what I mean? The old ways of doing it just ain't cutting it no more. We need some new innovative ways to get through to these kids and get their brains churning and learning. You know what I mean? Some different ways. I just feel like it's still the same cookie cutter method and we're struggling at that. The test scores show it. We need more focus on the high school, middle school level, and then we probably won't have these problems. We'll have a lot more people qualified and diverse going to these schools.
There was a case back in 2003, Grutter versus Bollinger, in which then Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor said 25 years from now, this court rules that America will no longer need affirmative action. That case aged to 20 last week. So 5 years earlier than Sandra Day O'Connor predicted, the Supreme Court has invalidated, it appears once and for all, using race in any means whatsoever in evaluating someone's admissions to a college or university in America. Gail?
All right, Major, thank you very much. Joining us now is CBS News legal contributor, that's Jessica Levinson. Jessica, what exactly does this mean for how schools will admit students now?
So is that exactly as Major indicated, it means that you cannot explicitly use race as a factor in admissions. So we already know that colleges and universities have planned ways to essentially try to still get diverse student bodies while not explicitly using race. So we might see colleges and universities put more weight, for instance, on
never helped me.
where
that never helped me get into college. I always thought they didn't use race solely to help get in college. Now it's like they're using it solely. When did that happen? I ended up not getting into the college that I wanted to go to and had to go to a junior college first to transfer to the college that I wanted to go in. My color of my skin didn't help me any type of way. You know, my race didn't help me any type of way. So, yeah, I was messing off in high school. Like I said, wasn't focusing, wasn't attentive, wasn't learning. You know what I mean? And my scores reflected that. I had no interest. It wasn't grabbing me. And my scores reflected that, and I had to go to junior college first, then get to a college.
Where did you grow up? Do your parents have graduate degrees? What zip code did you grow up in? But colleges and universities throughout the country, this applies to all private and public universities and colleges, cannot explicitly use race when they're making a decision about who to admit.
Now, we heard them say that they believe that it violated the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause. Can you just sort of break it down exactly what that means, that it violated it how?
So the 14th Amendment and the Equal Protection Clause says that everybody is entitled to equal protection under the law. And we know since the drafting of the 14th Amendment, that is meant to prevent invidious racial discrimination. And the question for the court really was, can taking race into account comply with the command from the 14th Amendment that we don't discriminate on the basis of race? What does equality really mean? And today the court said, Chief Justice John Roberts, in language that absolutely echoes other lines we've heard, the way to end racial discrimination is to stop taking race into account, essentially. This is very different from the view that the liberal justices have and Justice Jackson had. And she has a lengthy dissent explaining why equal protection allows the government, allows private colleges to say, we will take race into account in order to try and get to a place of equality.
Now that I agree. As long as we're not doing something like inherently dangerous as saying, no, you can't come here because of the color of your skin, then as long as we're not doing that, I'm cool with it. You know what I mean? It's just like sports. I'm not a person that believes everybody deserves a trophy. If you have what it takes and you're cutting it and you're doing it and you're putting in the work and you have everything reflects and shows of that, then you deserve to be here. If not, then you need to, okay, it's not a bad thing. And we got to stop making it look like a bad thing as well. You didn't get into this college. Cool. Let's reevaluate your situation, fix whatever happened, and get your scores up or do whatever it takes to get you to that point. When I didn't make it into college, okay, that wasn't the end of it. I had to go to this college here, junior, perform, and then I got to go there. You know what I'm saying? So that's my view on that.
And we heard Major say that the judge, Ketanji Brown Jackson, recused herself from the Harvard case because of her ties there. So when you look at it, when you look at the big picture, who benefits and who loses here?
Well, it depends on your perspective, but affirmative action programs were implemented. Actually, the legal reason was not to try and basically right the wrongs of our society. It was not meant to try to help people who had faced systemic discrimination. The point was to help all of us by creating more racially diverse student bodies. And I think a lot of people don't realize that about affirmative action programs. It was supposed to, again, benefit white students, Hispanic students, Asian American students, Black students. So if that's your perspective, then that help is no longer there. Now, for other people, they feel affirmative action programs have hurt Caucasian applicants, have hurt Asian American applicants, and that those applicants will be helped by the ending of affirmative action. We know from prior experiences in states like California that ending affirmative action tends to dramatically decrease the number of Black and Hispanic students in certain colleges and universities.
Yeah, I think, Jessica,
so
you said
let's stop there and then figure out why. Let's figure out why. That's the problem right there. If we figure out why does that sharp decline happen, then we can get somewhere.
it up perfectly. Depends on your point of view, because some people will be cheering this decision. Other people will be heartbroken by the news today. Let's bring in senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe. Ed, have you heard any reaction from the White House yet? I know this is just breaking now.
It is, Gail. We have been told to anticipate some kind of a reaction, but that the White House, its lawyers, and the president would want to read through the ruling first before really weighing in. He's got some time before he heads to some events in New York around midday where we might hear from him either on paper or in person. One thing to consider, though, when it comes to the issue of affirmative action more broadly, we recently did some polling on this, Gail. It found that 53% of Americans believe that affirmative action broadly should be continued. About 47% said it should not. But on the question of race-based college admissions, look at this, just 30% think colleges should be allowed to consider race in college admissions. 70% think they should not. So it's not that the court is necessarily taking its cues from public opinion. It says it never does that. But it does show here that the ruling today reflects broad public opinion. And that is something that, obviously will be considered in the political space. But the Biden administration had argued that in the case of Harvard's admissions process, they didn't believe it was in violation of the 14th Amendment, that the policy should be allowed to stand, and that the court should allow the university to continue doing so. Obviously, they've run counter to that today, and will await a formal response from the president and his administration as to what exactly it believes. One other thing to call out here, in the ruling itself towards the bottom of the Chief Justice's opinion, he writes in part, quote, "Nothing prohibits universities from considering an applicant's discussion of how race affected the applicant's life, so long as that discussion is concretely tied to a quality of character or unique ability that the particular applicant can contribute to the university." We had anticipated there might be something like this that would say you can talk about it in your college essay, or it can be taken as part of a broad spectrum of reasons why you should be admitted. But the idea that a university is going to look explicitly at one's race alongside other factors is what the court today is saying is not allowed.
That sentence you just read is very interesting inclusion in this ruling today. When you look at the big picture, how do you think this will impact the number or percentage of minorities who get accepted into universities? When you look at it on its face, you think, how can this possibly not affect black and brown students here?
Yeah, look, there is some evidence that in recent years, as college admissions processes regarding race changed, there was a lower number of minority applicants accepted. Perhaps that is inevitable. And so that's obviously where a lot of proponents of what UNC and Harvard were doing are going to be concerned, that this could adversely affect the admission of Black, Latino, Asian American students. But the other thing to remember here is back in 2003, then Justice Sandra Day O'Connor had warned that given the way society was changing, and given the contours of affirmative action, she believed that at some point in the next 25 years, this ability for colleges to consider race so explicitly was going to get struck down. Now, almost 20 years later, it appears that has happened.
Well, I want to know, and nobody's saying it, and I was hoping somebody mentioned it. Let's look at the graduation numbers. Okay, let's say, okay, I wish there was some way for them to know who was allowed in based on race. And let's see what the graduation, you got to know what your lack of a better term, your ROI is, right? Not saying that they're your investment, just using that as a phrase in this situation. You got to know, okay, if we've done this for so long, how has it played out? How has it played out? Is the success rate there? Is the graduation rate there? And even that, I wish we could have a way to track what you do once you get out of college. You know what I'm saying? All that type of stuff needs to be tracked so we can fine tune and better this whole system. This system needs work. And like I said, it needs to start at a lower level on up to the college level and proceed further after to be able to calculate and to better make sure we're doing the right thing. Because I know it didn't benefit me at all going to college. You know what I mean? That's another story.
Thank you very much, Ed. Chief Washington correspondent Major Garrett. We're going to go back to him outside the U.S. Supreme Court. I wonder if we could follow up on what Ed was just saying.
Yes.
Major, I read recently between 6 or 7 students who had decided, 6 or 7 states rather, who had eliminated accepting students based on race, that there had been a significant increase in the acceptance of black and brown students.
Right. Let's go over the specifics on this, Gail, because this was argued before the Supreme Court. It was part of the briefs the courts considered. 8 states in the United States, and I'll list them off to you: California, Florida, Michigan, Nebraska, Arizona, New Hampshire, Oklahoma, and Idaho have banned using race as a factor in college admissions. California was the first. It did that by referendum. What has been California's lived experience since then? And this was briefed to the court. And the UC system, University of California system, in its most selective schools, it saw a 50% drop almost immediately in admissions for black and Latino students. And the University of California system has tried to figure out a way to increase those numbers after taking race out of the consideration process. It has been unable to find a formula, a holistic formula, a non-formulaic formula. That's some of the terminology presented to the court to raise those numbers. So it had an immediate effect, and it has not rebounded since. And that is something that was briefed to the court, that there are real-world examples where if you take race out of the equation in any way, shape, or form, it is very hard to reach these goals of diversity that colleges, either private or public, have set for themselves. And as I mentioned earlier, and this has become a part of the conversation, it's going to be an ongoing part of the conversation, students coming to college want a more diverse campus body to go into. Their parents oftentimes prize that. How do you get there? What are the methodologies? That's going to be something colleges now are going to have to work out. And the experience in California is instructive. And those who represent and speak on behalf of African American and Latino students say it gets ever more harder once you take race out of the consideration process entirely. Well, that may be the result for those states in the country, unlike the 8 that have already banned it, that haven't done so now, because they're going to be reconciling those different difficulties and the challenges presented by creating a diverse student body on college campuses without taking, in any shape or form, race into consideration. Gail?
Major, thank you very, very much. It'll be interesting to see how going forward universities will make an effort to remain diverse. This is such a very important question that really affects all of us. Thank you. Once again, breaking news, the Supreme
That's the end of the interview, but I do think colleges should be diverse. I think that's a huge benefit for people, man. It was a benefit for me to meet different race, ethnic backgrounds, different people, diverse myself, like to get to know different types of people. I think that ultimately makes you a better person. So I am all for that. We need to figure out what is the cause of the significant drop, and that's where we need to pay attention to. Is it a learning situation? Is it other factors that play the role of what that is? You know what I mean? Long as they're not just discriminating just because of the color and your race, long as they're not doing that, then I'm all for us trying to figure out a solution. All right? So, but y'all get at me in the comment section, man. Let me know what you think and stick around and stay tuned. The next one I'm gone. Peace.